There's a small black camera bolted to a pole somewhere near your home right now. You've probably driven past it hundreds of times and never noticed it. Most people don't. It's sleek, it's quiet, and if anyone ever pointed it out and asked, "What is that?" the answer you get is something like, "Oh, that's just for public safety, license plate stuff." Here's what they're actually doing. Every single time your car drives past that camera, morning commute, doctor's appointment, church on Sunday, 2 a.m. drive when you couldn't sleep, it takes a photo. It reads your license plate. It notes your car's make, model, color, and any identifying details like bumper stickers, scratches, or a roof rack. And then it uploads all of that in real time to a shared national database that law enforcement agencies across the entire country can search. Not your city, the entire country. Right now, every single day. The company that built this system is called Flock Safety. And what happened when people found out what it is actually doing is one of the wildest stories of the last 2 years. Flock Safety was founded in Atlanta in 2017. The pitch was simple and genuinely hard to argue with. Give communities a way to automatically read license plates, flag stolen cars, and help police solve crime faster. Solar-powered cameras, wireless connection, no installation headache, clean, modern, and marketed directly to neighborhood HOAs and small-town police departments that couldn't afford traditional surveillance infrastructure. It worked, explosively. By 2026, Flock had crossed 100,000 camera installations across the United States. They have contracts with more than 5,000 law enforcement agencies and 12,000 clients total. Those cameras collectively perform more than 20 billion license plate scans every single month. You can find them on highways, at intersections, in apartment complex parking lots, outside Walmart and Lowe's, and in residential neighborhoods managed by HOAs, where residents signed away their neighbors' privacy in exchange for a slightly lower crime rate and a slightly higher sense of control. And after a while, most people had no idea any of this existed. Here's the part Flock's marketing doesn't lead with. These cameras don't just read plates. They run a modified version of Android software. They connect wirelessly to a centralized cloud database, and they process everything they captured using AI, making the footage searchable in plain English by any law enforcement officer with system access. You don't search by plate number. You can type green Honda with a cracked bumper and a coexist bumper sticker, and the system surfaces matching vehicles from cameras across the country. More than that, Flock has since expanded into cameras that pan, tilt, and zoom, tracking both vehicles and people. They now offer mobile surveillance trailers and AI-powered drones that can be deployed the moment an alert fires. The ACLU describes the whole system not as a license plate reader, but as a unified AI surveillance platform. Here's what that means in practice. Your car was photographed in one Virginia city 475 times over 4.5 months. Another resident's car was captured 325 times in the same period. Those are real numbers from a real lawsuit. Residents only found out because they filed public records requests and someone actually counted. You have never been told how many times you've been scanned. Nobody has. The story starts unraveling with a Texas sheriff's deputy. In 2025, that deputy used Flock's National Lookup tool, a feature that searches not just local cameras, but every camera in the entire Flock network, more than 83,000 cameras across the country, to search for a woman he believed had a self-administered abortion in a state where it was illegal. He typed his reason into the system search field, had an abortion, search for female. That search reached into camera networks in Illinois, Washington State, and dozens of other states where abortion is fully legal. A bipartisan group of members of Congress called it a gross misuse and abuse of surveillance technology. The search had been technically possible because Flock's national lookup feature, by design, makes local surveillance data available to agencies far outside the jurisdiction that installed the camera. That case cracked the story open. What investigators found next was worse. In Denver alone, local police officers ran more than 1,400 searches on behalf of ICE using Flock's network. A San Francisco audit found 299 improper queries from out-of-state and federal agencies over a single year. A class action lawsuit filed in February 2026 alleges that ICE, CBP, the FBI, and the ATF had queried San Francisco's cameras more than 1.6 million times in just 7 months. California law explicitly prohibits sharing plate data with out-of-state or federal agencies without case-by-case authorization. The exposure sought in that single lawsuit, billions of dollars, at $2,500 per violation. Flock's public response was swift. We don't share data with ICE. We don't have a contract with ICE. Communities control who they share with. All of that is technically true, and almost none of it addresses what actually happened. What actually happened is what the Center of Human Rights at the University of Washington described as a side door and a back door. Local police departments, which do have Flock access, conducted searches on ICE's behalf without Flock being the one to hand over the data. Customs and Border Protection accessed Flock data through a previously undisclosed pilot program that Flock's own leadership said they were unaware of, even as 47 agencies had to be removed from access once it was discovered. In Oxnard, California, a vendor-side issue silently re-enabled nationwide data sharing after the city had explicitly set its access to California only. The city didn't know. Nobody told them. The cameras kept scanning. In Evanston, Illinois, the city canceled its Flock contract and ordered the cameras to be removed. They later discovered that only some of them had come down, and that Flock had reinstalled others without permission, active, collecting, silent. An independent researcher, not a security professional, a musician, and YouTuber, discovered dozens of Flock cameras left open to the public internet with no password required. Physical exploits allowing root access were documented. Flock's security chief wrote that these findings were irresponsible. Meanwhile, police officers in Joplin, Milwaukee, Menshaw, and Brownston, Georgia, were using the system to stalk ex-partners and former girlfriends, tracking their movements, pulling maps of their locations, sending those maps to the women whose restraining orders they were violating. A police chief in Georgia resigned and was arrested. An officer in Tennessee was indicted on 23 counts. A Milwaukee officer used the system more than 170 times over 2 months to track a woman that he was dating. By mid-2026, 82 Flock contracts have been terminated or rejected across 28 states. The backlash spans the entire political spectrum. Conservative communities angry about surveillance overreach, liberal college towns angry about ICE access, gun rights advocates angry that the ATF used Flock to identify attendees at a gun show. In Dayton, Ohio, city workers spent weeks pulling black garbage bags over 72 surveillance cameras bolted onto utility poles across town because the city couldn't immediately exit its own contract. The image stuck: public employees in broad daylight covering cameras with trash bags because the legal off-ramp didn't exist yet. A grassroots organization called DFlock has now mapped more than 99,000 ALPR cameras across the country. A proposed federal amendment would strip highway funding from any state that allows cameras like these except for tolling. So no, this was never really a video about cameras. It's about the fact that a company sold communities on a simple tool for catching car thieves, then quietly built one of the most powerful surveillance networks in American history with it. 100,000 cameras, 20 billion scans a month. A national database searchable in plain English by any cop in any city. And the only reason any of this came to light is because a deputy in Texas typed his real reason into a search field that nobody expected anyone to ever read. Flock says it follows the law. They say communities control their data. Both of those things can be technically true, and the system can still be doing exactly what I just explained to you in this video. The camera on your street didn't change. You just know what it's actually doing now. Drop a comment. Did you know that these cameras existed before this video? And does knowing change how you feel about the one near your house? This is Sketchy Files, and I'll catch you in the next one.